Welcome back to Drive Your Thoughts podcast. I'm your host, Master Coach Carrie Marshall, and it's time to go after those goals.
Yeah, whether ready or not, life's coming hard, no breaks, no stop. And if you put me on the spot, don't get it twisted, I never drop. If you feel a bit out of control and out the box, here's a way that you could drive your thoughts. Turn this podcast on, it's a lock. Carrie Marshall on the clock.
So I want to really hear what's been going on with you. Give me an update of where you're at, what you've been up to. I know this year's been a pretty big transition year for you.
Yeah, it's been huge. So I thought I wanted to transition out of landscaping because I'm just done. My back is shot, right?
How long have you been in landscaping?
This is 17 years.
Wow, 17 years in landscaping.
Yeah. I just stumbled into it. I just started aerating lawns, Mm-hmm. Curtis was probably part of that too. I mean, Jeremy Red was the one that actually started it with us. He got us to do it and then he bailed, And then I kept doing it and we aerated lawns and we made $1,000 in a day one time. And to us, it was like, what the heck, right? And we paid, so then I bought an aerator and it paid for itself in a week.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, this is actually something. I was going to school for business, but I didn't really.
So this was in college.
Yeah, it was in college, just going to UVSC.
Yeah.
Went to Utah State for a year. That's when I was dating Kate, but I was coming down every weekend. So you know how that goes.
Yeah, that's a lot of back and forth.
Yeah. The Malibu can only take so much, Yeah, going through Sardine Canyon and everything. Anyway, back and forth a ton. And so my parents went on a mission. So that's when we just stayed at the house. And Curtis lived with us. We got married and Curtis lived there with us.
So for everybody that's listening, Steve is my husband, Curtis's best friend since high school.
Yeah.
And then Katie, we've had on the podcast before. Steve's married to Katie, who is my best friend. So we kind of lucked out. we kind of have these best friends that happen to be, a couple. So it's fun for Curtis and I because, we've got to raise our kids together. Apparently you got to start your married life with Curtis living in the same house as you.
Katie got mad at both of us all the time because we were playing games all day. She had 3 jobs.
Yeah, so we always tease that You, Me, and Dupree is actually based off of your married life with Curtis living there for the very 100%.
First. 100%. Every time I watch that show, it's that's my man Bird. But Matt Dillon's character reminds me of Kenny. So anyway. Funny.
So you guys have this really big group of friends that have been friends since junior high and high school. And that's one of the things that I've always admired is your ability to have each other's backs, support each other, hang out, always talk about the fun things that you've had and done together. But what do you think has been able to keep that group of guys together for so long?
I've thought about that quite a bit. I think there's a couple people, I think that was probably one of my gifts that I had to learn that was a gift. It just kind of came naturally to me, but I'm starting to learn that a lot of people seek that out to be able to just be a people person. Right. And to have people get along together kind of through you. Right. And honestly, I don't vocalize this very much. So this is this is all new territory for me.
I think it's good though, because I think that this is one of the things that we don't do enough is we don't talk about our strengths enough because like you said, it's something that you've always been good at. It's not, but it's something that when you finally kind of made the association of oh, this isn't something that a lot of people do well.
Yeah.
It is a different way of being able to acknowledge it and say yeah, this is a gift of mine because you do it with friends, you do it in your business, you do it with family, personal life. I mean, across the board, this is definitely one of your skills that you have is being able to connect people through you.
Yeah. And Carrie, to be honest, you do that very well too. I've noticed that a lot. But I think that's why we can we can almost be best friends between the couples, right? Because there's not a lot of women that feel comfortable with another guy without it being
a little weird.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
But I've never felt that with you ever. And hopefully you're not with me. And so I think, and there's very few women in my life that's the case. Right.
Well, and it's such a supportive, I think that this is something that a lot of people maybe don't see, is that it's such a supportive group of couples. Right. And so it is one of those, like, being able to hear, like, even Curtis talk about Katie's business. Like, that's really cool to be able to have my husband invested in my best friend's business, you know, and be like, hey, Katie's crushing it. Did you see that? We talk about pillow packages.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like, you know, Curtis will be like, that's a cool, did you see that, what Katie did? And I'm like, that's super cool that he's invested in her, not just in you, but in her as well. And like what our families are doing. So
yeah, that's super cool.
Yeah.
And I think that's a respect thing. And I love that, you know, like I really do. And,
so you've been able to kind of connect and keep, you know, like you said, there's been a couple of key people that have been able to keep friends groups together. I think it's almost like shifted even throughout the years as we've, you know, raised kids, you know, all of these different things. But then how does that translate to your business? Because we were just kind of giving an update of like where you're at. You said you're shifting kind of out of the landscaping business. So how has those connections helped you to make the next step into what you want out of business now?
Yeah, I feel comfortable enough with each of those friends and pretty much a lot of people that I meet, right? Pretty quickly too, like when I first meet somebody, but especially with these close friends where like I have the desire right away just to do something with them, like business wise. And so it has translated because now like Jerem Dastrup and I are doing touch points, right?
So
which
exciting.
Is awesome. Like is this tech thing, which is all new to me. Pretty new to Jerem too, but he's taking and running with it and he's like gung ho, you know how Jerem is, just
absolutely
all in. So that's been super cool. And we've always looked for something to do together and it just hasn't fit. And so it's finally like come to that. And I would love someday to do that with Curtis too.
Yeah. What do you think was the final thing because like you said, you've always wanted to work with Jerem and it's just like kind of making those pieces work. What was it for you that finally made it feel like it was connected there?
Yeah. So I went through some stuff at the very beginning of my landscaping where I had a partner and it didn't end too well. And Jerem, same thing. And so at that time, like he was going through his thing with his partner and I was going through mine. And so we knew what we didn't want, right? We knew exactly what we didn't want in a partnership, but we didn't really know exactly what we wanted. And it just didn't feel right. And so I've always gone with my gut my whole life, like in every decision. And if it just doesn't feel right, like I never do it, or like I try not to, right? Mm-hmm. So if Katie and I are trying to make a decision, it's like, if we're trying to press this, it means no, you know? So.
And that makes you guys go against the grain a lot.
It does. Like
that's one thing that I know with both of you is that there's a confidence behind that of like, you know, making decisions as a couple, going with your gut, but then also being okay with judgments of other people coming at you because it's not the norm for, you know, what people expect necessarily. Right.
Society, parents, especially family members, friends, all of it. Right. But I think that goes with kind of like how the friends have stayed together too, though, right? Like, it's like, if something's not right, we need to check ourselves and try to help each other be better. And I think as we're getting older, we're doing better at that. Mm-hmm. But at the very beginning, I think we kind of hid that just to stay friends.
Well, it's vulnerability. You know, I think that's sometimes hard to do as well, of like, you know, being actually vulnerable, even though you've known these guys since you were teenagers. Yeah. It can be that next level of friendship of, you know, it's not comfortable having to call a friend out or be called out by somebody and say like, hey, we can do better here.
Yeah. And you take 12 macho guys, right? Like, I mean, all these guys are very successful. They're very athletic, good looking dudes that are just fit and everything with beautiful families and stuff. And you want them to get vulnerable in that setting. But we are getting to the point where we can be that way a little bit more. And it's crazy, like the growth that happens in your friendship that you didn't know there could be growth, right? Mm-hmm. And I think it's really cool. It's cool that it's happening.
It's cool to be able to see that side of somebody. I think that, like you said, it's interesting to think that you know somebody really well, and then to be able to ask different questions, be able to hold people accountable, be vulnerable yourself with things that you're struggling with or what's going on with you. And it opens up a completely different area of like, wow, I thought we were friends before. Curtis and I actually went through this when we were first married. We used to say like, oh yeah, we're best friends. But it wasn't until we went through some really hard things and got vulnerable with each other and then really had to cling to each other during our, raising little kids, that I was like, I kept saying he was my best friend, but he wasn't. Mm. But now I'm like, now I can legitimately say, and we can really get those matching necklaces that say best friends on them.
I can't wait to see them.
But really, I think that that's kind of the thing, is like, we think that it is until it's the next level where we're like, wow, that's what this friendship could be. And so grateful to be able to take it there.
And you always walk away after getting vulnerable. For a guy, it's kind of like, I feel a little bit like, but afterwards, I feel like that's where the most growth in my life has happened. Mm-hmm. And I can build on that. And to be honest, Jeremy and I talk a lot about that. And that's kind of why I like to golf, right?
So like, Steve's a huge golfer, not just like to golf.
Yeah. I play a lot, and it helps that Kate likes to play now.
It's fun to be able to see your entire family go out. It's really fun to be able to see the connections and stuff. Yeah.
It's awesome. But golf has become like a really special thing to me, because like my family, my brothers, my dad, my whole family likes to do it, and it brings everyone together. And there's no other place you can spend 4 hours, 5 hours with somebody in that intimate of a setting these days. Right. And pretty much phone free. Right. Mm-hmm. And even if you don't talk a ton about family and stuff like that, you're with those people and you get to just be with them and like
connecting personally, but also being able to be out in nature, be able to do, be able to actually do something that's active. I think that those are some of the connections that we're actually missing when we're not creating, actual relationships and just doing things online, or, even just going to movies or going out to dinner. We're missing a connection that happens when we're outside and being active.
I agree. Going to a movie is kind of like these days, it's fun to do, but you don't really get to talk to people. Like we went to Post Malone last night with Tyler and Lee, and we're trying to talk to each other. You're like, what? The whole night. And it's like, well, at least we went to dinner beforehand. Right. Got it all out.
Right.
And then on the drive home too, which was awesome. But
yeah, which is super fun.
But yeah, golf is like, you're out in nature. So the inspiration's there. You do get vulnerable, man. There's been times where we're straight up bawling in the middle of the fairway. Guys are like yelling at us to go. And it's like, no, these are special moments that I cherish, Well,
and it's cool that you've been able to take something, a hobby and a passion of yours, and then really see how, once again, it connects back to being able to connect with people and being able to make those connections.
Right.
So it sounds like it was kind of like the right opportunity with Jerem, right timing.
Yes. Yeah.
But then also, I think this next thing that you just mentioned, which is being able to be vulnerable with each other.
Yeah.
And being able to kind of have different conversations than maybe both of you were able to have with those partnerships that didn't work. And so you've kind of transitioned into tech, which is interesting, from landscaping.
Yeah. So it went landscaping to, we started doing development a little bit, right? So Rod Morley and I do development.
Yep. You have a business partner that you do business or property development,
land development. And then we do some like rehab. We just rehabbed like a 16-plex in Idaho Falls, and full rehab. It was a crack house, to be honest, like right by the city buildings. Crazy stuff was going on there. And like even the fire department guys and the police, they're like, you're going to take all of our like fun away. Like we used to
watch our entertainment.
Yeah. All the entertainment's gone. We used to watch like how they would get people in there, right? They would send a balloon out, and then that was a signal. And anyway,
signal that everything's available at the apartment complex.
So funny.
And it's gorgeous. I mean, I've seen the pictures of it. I haven't been able to go up and see it, but I mean, the work that you guys did there, and to hear even that the community was so grateful to be able to take something that kind of was an eyesore and, you know, a little bit of a problem area, but then to have you guys invest in it and really take the time and energy to make it now something that is awesome for families now. Right. And an option for that smaller community to have is really cool to see.
Yeah, it was awesome, Carrie. It was like, I think that was the best part, because when we did the open house, we had all the city people come through and they were all just saying like, thank you, thank you, thank you. And then we vetted everybody that was coming in to rent, you know, and we got some really good people in there. And it's kind of turning that community around little by little, you know.
Yeah, it's so cool to be a part of that. You know, to think that you guys were doing like a business flip, a building flip, but then to see what a change in the community that makes is pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So we did that. And we're just about like Rod's doing another one just up the street, and then we want to sell both together, and then we'll be done with that and then go into something else. But kind of did that a couple years ago. That's where we built our house, right? So we lived in Mapleton on 3.25 acres, just off Main Street. And then Rod, my partner, had 5 acres next to us. I didn't know Rod, but we just met him because he came to look at his property. And then we started talking about doing a development. And so we came together and did it. Neither of us really knew what we were doing, but he'd been in business for 20 years doing home loans. And I've been in business doing landscaping 15 years. So running the business was kind of the same, right? As development, same principles. But then we just learned how to do like the whole political part of it with the city and stuff. And then we got the 12 lot subdivision done, sold all the lots. And then we built our house on that 1/2 acre lot. And then we sold that. And then now we're in the old townhome, you know?
What do you think helps you to move forward with opportunity, not knowing the outcome of what that opportunity may or may not bring?
So yeah, Carrie, that's a big part of it is having a supportive like partner, right? So Kate was super supportive of all this stuff, because supportive in my landscaping, because at the beginning it was super hard. Like it was not easy. I was gone a lot, and I listened to your guys' podcast and she talked a lot about that, because she really was like just a single mom. I'm gone for 16 hours a day. At the beginning I had to do all the work, right? But she did support me through all that, which is awesome. And then I think that's what helped her too, though, like become an entrepreneur. Like she already knew what she was doing, because she ran my business with me. And then when she figured out how to do the sewing thing and pillows and stuff, she just took off with it, and she's killing it. She's doing awesome.
She's doing so good.
And she has like support from you and everybody. And that's what helps her a ton. But having that supportive spouse is huge. Because even selling our home, right? Like when we sold our home on that acreage, that was kind of a big thing for her. And then building the house, that was kind of like her dream to build. But then
she was really in the design phase of that. Like, wish everybody could see how gorgeous this house was. It's really her idea come to light, and it was incredible to see. But then the opportunity presented itself that a lot of people wanted that house.
Right. Yeah.
You guys had people knocking on your door asking and giving you numbers like, hey, if you ever sell, we want to be on this list. That's how amazing this house was. Yeah.
And we were super fortunate. I mean, Kate did an awesome job with the design and everything. And then Devin Bird did awesome with the build. And then when the opportunity came, we talked to Tyler Bennett. He was our realtor and our really good friend. And we put out this crazy number, and he's like, yeah, let's go for it. Right. And the first people that walked through it bought it, full cash offer. It was just like this dream scenario. But as an entrepreneur, it's like, we have to recognize these opportunities, right? And these blessings, and take advantage of them. If you don't, that might not come up again. So like if you're religious or not religious, but you believe in blessings and stuff, if you're praying for stuff like that or hoping for stuff like that, and it presents itself and you don't take it, there's no one to blame but you, right? So that's what Kate and I have, like, we have some serious discussions about these things before they happen. But once she has to be on board though. You know, both of us have to be on board. We're not going to make a decision unless we're both say yes. And we do that with everything. And so once she said that, then we're all in, and then we, no matter what happens, good or bad, we both take that, right? And this time it just happened to be good. But I mean, there's several times this hasn't been good. But we just know as entrepreneurs, we have to strike while it's hot.
What do you think helps you when it's not good to continue to go back to your gut and listening to your gut when maybe it didn't turn out like you wanted it to?
Yeah, so that's a good question. And I've listened to all your podcasts and like, I love them. Like the one with your brother was awesome.
So fun, right?
So awesome. And he said some awesome things. And then you and Kate talking to that was really cool. But when it doesn't work out, I was thinking about this. The thing that always comes back is just hard work. Like if you're willing to work hard, you will be successful no matter what. So we were talking before about taking the leap, right? Because a lot of people ask me too, like, well, like, how did you do it? Like, how did you just decide to, cause I had a full-time job, right? And I was getting paid decent money at the time. And before I started landscaping, and then I was like, look, if I'm going to do this thing, I got to go, cause I was trying to go half in, half out. It just doesn't work. And I told Jeremy the same thing with touch points. And I was like, dude, this has to be we have to be all in, right? And something happens when you go all in on something and you're out there and you're just kind of like, you're like, oh crap, like I'm free falling right now. You make things happen. And if you know how to work hard, you're going to be okay. Like even if you fail, it's fine. You just learned something and you learn what you don't want to do. And so now you're going to go do what you want to do. And even if you have to learn and learn and learn, if you continually work hard, you're going to be fine. Like that's just how it goes. And my mom and dad taught us how to work hard.
Yeah.
And we come from a big family. So
yeah. I think that the thought that I always go to is if, I went with my gut and then it didn't work out, I always tell myself that there was a lesson to be learned there. Absolutely. And so that's how I still can continue to go back to that intuition and be like, my intuition wasn't wrong. I just needed to learn that lesson.
Yeah.
And so then that has always helped to like transition that. So super fun that those business opportunities keep presenting itself. And I think one of the reasons that they do is because you keep connecting with people. So, we had a whole podcast episode about connecting, but once again, you're a really good connector. So what are some things that you do to help people get connected to you and continue to build your circle of influence?
Yeah. So, I talked to Kate about this too with golf, right? I said, babe, like everybody gets frustrated with golf, but if you go out there and you slam your club and you throw your club and you break your club and you're swearing and everything, nobody's going to want to play with you, So it doesn't matter really. At the end of the day, the score does matter, but it doesn't if you go in with that right mindset of, look, I want to network with these people. I want to make sure to show them like who I really am. And that isn't me if I'm going out there just making a ass of myself, right?
Right.
So I've noticed that just be yourself at all times and be that person that people want to be around. And you're always going to have opportunities. Like it's crazy. And so I try to do that in almost every aspect, right? No matter what it is, work or play or whatever. Just be that person that people want to be around. And it's crazy that that's an art, right? It really is. Like some people just can't get past that. It's like they just can't get past that. Man, they're coming off like just a drag. And nobody wants to be around that person that's a drag that's going to take them down. So like just be that energy, be that energy that people need. And sometimes you're going to need that from somebody else. But guess what? They might have learned that from you. And so they can help you later on, right?
How do you remember so much about people? Because that's always something I'm like shocked about. We cannot go on a couple's date without Steve or Curtis knowing people, but not just knowing like, oh, you look familiar, but Steve will be like, this is so-and-so from 4th grade who's now done this. And it's like this whole like timeline. But how do you remember all of that about people?
Carrie, I make it so intentional though to like when I'm with somebody, like they really are my best friend. So I've had a lot of people say that to me, like, hey, everyone thinks that you're their best friend or whatever. And it's like, well, why not be that guy's best friend or that girl's best friend when you're with them, right? Like, I remember like back in the day when I was just being a punk and like I was yelling at some kid and I didn't even know him. And then my brother Jay is like, he's like, dude, what are you doing? He's like, if you got to know that kid could probably be your best friend. I was like, yeah, you're right. You probably could be. And so like, I've always thought about that. And I've told my brother that too. I'm like, I always remember that you told me that. He's like, I told you that? Like, yeah.
He doesn't remember any of it.
But it's funny what things stick to people too, right? Mm-hmm. So good or bad. So it's like, I want people to remember me for that good stuff. But I think I learned that a lot of that just from my family, like my brothers, my siblings. We're super tight, right? 11 kids in my family.
Say that again, though. People are going to, you have to say it again.
Yeah, we're that Mormon family, man. 11 kids, 8 boys, 3 girls. My mom and my dad, same marriage. They even had a stillborn, few miscarriages. It was crazy. My dad was a farmer, though, so he needed those
he needed
workers,
extra hands.
He needed those workers. And then he got into Jiffy Lubes and stuff, so we all worked there. But yeah, honestly, growing up, it was like, if you feel sorry for yourself, that's your problem. Nobody's going to feel sorry for you.
Yeah.
So get over it and let's have fun. Mm-hmm. And my family's like the funnest. Like they're just the
Work
best.
hard, play hard.
Work hard, play hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. My dad taught us how to work physically, and that's probably why I got into landscaping. Mm-hmm. And he actually told me, he's like, if I wouldn't have gone the way I did with farming and Jiffy Lubes, he's like, I would have been a landscaper. And I didn't know that.
Interesting.
When I got into landscaping. But something always like drew me to that. Mm-hmm. So it just kind of happened, yeah.
It's interesting how much being outside plays a role in your life. You
Absolutely.
know, as you keep talking about these different things and what you're doing, it's just interesting to kind of see that theme of like how much being outdoors is part of your success.
And mental health, I think. Mm-hmm. Like Carrie, you and I have talked a lot about that. But like mental health is a big thing for me. Because right off the mission, like I dealt with some major anxiety stuff for 2 years and I didn't even know what it was. I can pinpoint it to the night it happened. Mm-hmm. A week before I left, and then it happened. It went on for 2 years after my mission. And then it went away, and then it came back years later. And then we just went through COVID. And when Jeremy and I got COVID, we both went through kind of the same thing where we had severe like depression. And it was weird because it was the first time I'd ever had experienced anything like that. And being outside, golfing or whatever it was, would always take it away. Mm-hmm. Like it would lessen it quite a bit. It was when I was inside or on the phone for too long or whatever that I would really feel the effects of it.
When do you think that you started to actually identify that it was mental health that was going on and then start to actually do something about it?
During the COVID part, it was like I was having crazy thoughts. Mm-hmm. And the ego got in my way where I wasn't, because there was a group thread. We all got it on a super spreader golf trip in St. George, right? But when we got back, somebody texted out like, hey, is anyone else feeling weird? You know? And then that's how everyone found out they had COVID. But then Jerem actually texted me like a week later and he's like, hey man, I'm having crazy thoughts, you know? Mm-hmm. So he was brave enough to actually like tell me about it. And I was like, oh my gosh, me too, man. Like, so then we kind of helped each other with it. And then I started studying more about it and kind of found out that that's what it was.
And so for anybody that's listening to this, like during COVID, one of the things that not a lot of people talked about was that COVID, you get COVID, but then mentally it would start to really, really mess with your head, meaning that there was a lot of like intense depression, suicide ideation that would happen, like really, really dark, where it was like you can't get out of it. It's not just like a phase, but it was something that not a lot of people were saying. It wasn't like, hey, you're going to get a high temperature, you're going to have a cough, and you're going to have this mental fog that just basically holds you down. And nobody was talking about that part. And so it was hard because a lot of people thought it was a them problem, a personal thing that like, there's something wrong with me. And they didn't connect it to COVID.
Yeah. So, yeah. And if there is anybody listening that's struggling with this, like it is a real thing, and it might not be you, right? Like got yourself in this funk. It might actually be something chemical that's wrong, and you can get that fixed pretty easily. Like I found out that my testosterone was super low, and so I went and got that checked and got some testosterone, and the brain fog went completely away. And then just exercising, drinking less caffeine, right? Because I love the caffeine.
Love our caffeine.
love the energy drinks. But I found that the less I drink of that, the better I do with that, and the anxiety part too, right? So,
and it's being aware of it. You know, it's being aware of your own. Like I know seasonal depression's huge for me. Usually hits about right after Christmas, but it's knowing where my triggers are, and then knowing how I have my mental health plan, knowing when I do need to go in to the doctor or get medication, and that's the thing that I always tell people is that your mental health team can expand, and it can come back to where it's normal for you. Just like if we went to the hospital, right? If we needed our appendix out, we wouldn't be embarrassed about needing to expand our physical team. So we've got to make sure that it's okay that we can expand our mental health team when we need it.
Yeah, and I love something that you told me when I was telling you about what I was feeling when it was happening. You said like, yeah, when you get sick, right, your body's kind of fatigued and it's going through this stuff. Well, your brain just might be sick right now, so it just needs some time to heal and recover. And I was like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, right?
And so knowing how you're supposed to recover, just like if we, lay in bed so that the body aches and, doing this, same type of thing with our mental health is we need to know when our brain is sick and when we actually need to, go and either get medication or give it the rest that it needs.
Yeah. And rest was a big one too. Yeah. Plenty of rest and staying hydrated and just getting outside. Like I know you tell people to do that a lot. Just get outside. I
tell every weekend, I'm like, get outside. It's one of those things. And the other thing that I always say is have people that you can talk to.
Absolutely.
And it's not that they're going to fix you. It's not, but it's having a friend that you can say, like the fact that Jerem was able to reach out to you is huge. Hey, I'm having crazy thoughts. Like that's all that needs to happen for that conversation to happen. But on the flip side of that, be the person that's okay to get those text messages as well. So
we want to do something with touch points that we're going to roll out, hopefully to like our education vertical, right? We want to do like a suicide prevention text line and provide that to all the schools through our touch points. Touch points is actually like an SMS, like a texting platform. So we want it to be available to any student that if they're feeling that, they can just text that number or text suicide or whatever thoughts, whatever to that number, and they can get help that they need, right?
What an amazing service. That just gave me chills. I'm so excited about that.
And the coolest part, Carrie, is like, Jeremy and I have been talking about this, the power of music, right? And I saw that last night at the Post Malone concert. I'm like, oh my gosh, these people are going nuts over that. And he didn't sound that good, but he's awesome. Like I love his music, but the people were going crazy. And I see this at any concert, the power of music that it has over people. And so like I want to write, and writing for me is huge too, right? I think writing for anybody is huge. It doesn't have to be songs or poetry, but just getting it on paper.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So
it's huge.
I think this is a really good time to shift into this next part that I want to talk about. If anybody's been listening to this podcast and been like, this guy sounds so familiar. Steve is the mastermind / master rapper behind my intro and outro music. And so you, as a hobbyist, you also write rap and create rap. How did you get started with that?
It's so weird. Like, so weird. I was just super weird. I just started writing, just rhyming, right? And I found it was a good way. I always liked poetry. Like I wrote some stuff for Kate. I didn't even realize that.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's like 101 reasons why I love Kate or something. Anyway, I did, and I've done some poetry. I used to write on my mission back to my mom, and my mom was really into poetry and stuff.
And rap culture played a huge role into your high school years.
Big time.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I know that was something that was really like a connector with all of your friends as well. So you have this poetry connection. You also have this background with like rap culture and things.
Yeah, and I loved it. And it's all we listened to. I mean, Curtis and I would listen to Warren G all night, right? Just because he said he was sleeping in my house. I said he was sleeping. And we ended up in a church parking lot in his like hatchback. And we're just like flipping the tape over. Anyway, it was huge, but I never had the desire to like write or rap in high school. But then like when I was 36, I think, I just started doing it. And then I got the courage. It was really weird because I felt super dumb. But I like sent it to, I think, Curtis, Bryce, and Matt. And I think we were taking a trip and I actually like did it live or whatever. And it was probably horrible, but they were like, awesome, you know? And so they were super supportive of it. And then it just started from there. And then I found that app, Rap Chat. And I've been on Rap Chat for like 6 years.
And been able to connect with some really awesome people through Rap Chat.
Yeah. I've been on a text line for probably 6 years straight with these people that I've never met. And one of the guys is Steve Walling. He's the guy that I do the most music with. He's awesome. And now he's working at Touch Points.
That's
so
amazing.
Crazy that and we haven't even met like personally. He's working at Touch Points from Missouri. Like it's crazy.
Awesome.
But it's a huge part of my life now. And the weird part is like I would hide it, you know, from Kate and the family at first. And because it was a way for me to like really express myself when I would get angry, work and stuff. And I would so some of it was like pretty bad at first, but it
was an outlet for you, right? It was an outlet. It was a way for you to express instead of bringing that anger home or the frustration and stress home.
That's right.
I know that you would, sit in the car for a little bit and just kind of let it out, where it was just like I talk about with my clients, like have a space to write, and it doesn't matter if you throw it away, it doesn't matter. And that's what you were doing, is you were creating a space to get it out, get it down, and then, on the creative side, then put it to some beats and stuff so that it's like that next level of like, okay, done. That's out of my life now.
That's right. That's exactly right. And it's almost like writing a text and not sending it, you still feel that empowerment, but you don't have to send it, but I love it. I love the process of it. I love writing. I'm in the truck a lot during the day, just moving equipment, material. And so I just put a beat on in the truck and then I just write. Like it just comes. Like I just wrote one right before I came. It's called Illumination, and it's going to be the suicide prevention song that we want to put on that text thread.
So tell us a little bit about what that's going to look like. So you wrote this song specifically for Touch Points suicide prevention.
Yes.
Text. And so somebody sends something in and they get this back with probably extra support past that.
Yeah. And if they need a custom song or whatever, I want to be willing to like do that for that person. Like if it can help save somebody, right? Which is it's super weird that music could do that. But when somebody gets something personalized to them, it's different, And I've noticed that because I've sent a lot of birthday ones. I did one for my mom for her 80th birthday, stuff like that.
So we were sitting in the car once, and I wanted to kind of, Steve was kind of putting it out there that he was rapping a little bit. I'm fascinated by it because I've always respected Eminem for his lyrics, for how he's able to put lyrics together. And then, of course, like speed and tone and all of that's amazing. But I've always found him as a poet. Some people might disagree with me, but I've admired rappers for their words. And so when you started rapping and I was able to listen to some, I was like, Steve's a writer. Like, that's what he's doing. He's writing, but then he's taking it to the next level. So we were sitting in the car, and I think we were by a car wash. Was it a car wash? Yeah. I think it was. So I tell Steve, I say, okay, if you're, like put these words from the car wash in this rap.
Oh yeah, that's right.
It took him 5 minutes. He was like, let me go away for a minute. I think it was 10 minutes, and he came back and he had recorded a rap all about the car wash. It's an incredible gift that you have. And it's not just for fun things like a car wash, but like you said, now you've really created a space where creating personal raps and knowing people, and then, putting a little bit about what they're going through has really been a source of strength and love and relief sometimes for people.
Yeah, Carrie, and I got to thank you, because you were like one of my best supporters, seriously, from the very beginning. And I listened to your podcast where you said those people that crush your dreams or whatever, right? You don't need people like that in your life. And it's so true, because easily you could have been like, dude, what are you doing? You're 36 years old or whatever, like, grow up. But instead you took the other route and you supported and pushed, and you even had me do your intro, which was like an honor for me, right? Like, I think that's so cool that it's being used. And then you referred me to, the other lady that I just did it for, and
other people that are definitely on board now. It's
just really cool. But when you have that support, your mentality's different too, and it pushes you a little bit more, Well,
and it becomes that safe place, like we said. I think the coolest thing, I haven't shared this with you yet, but I think the coolest thing is that my daughter Nolly listens to my podcast every single Thursday when it drops. And she said that her friends know your rap. And so she said, yeah, like everybody, like I turn it on during lunch, and she's like, everybody sings along with it. And I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool that there's like a group of junior high kids that.
Well, Nolly's the best though.
Nolly's the best. And so here's where I might get a little teary, because I want to share a story about Nolly. So I've shared a little bit about this, but Nolly's been through a lot. She's my teenager, and she had some pretty hard things happen when she was a kid. She ended up in the hospital with croup that turned into something a lot bigger. And so, she ended up in the hospital for a really long time. At the hospital, she ended up getting an IV burn, which is a chemical burn on her hand that has led to years of her hand not working correctly, dozens and dozens of surgeries, all of this stuff that's happened. And just this year, 2022, by some crazy coincidences, Curtis found a new surgeon for her. And, I'll have to maybe even bring him on another time. But so Nick Howland ends up being our surgeon. He basically recreates the wound, goes in there, does everything, and Nolly has almost full function of her hand back. We never thought that this was possible. But through Nick, through the hand therapy that she's been doing, it's been really amazing. So all of this has been happening in our family, something that we never thought was possible. Miracles, just those impossible dreams that we've always had for her are starting to come to fruition. And we're out, not with Nolly, we're with our oldest daughter at a concert, and a text comes through from Steve to Curtis and I. And I'm like, oh, Steve, whatever Steve does. And when Steve sends a rap, it just comes in an audio file. And so I see the audio file and I'm like, oh, cool. Steve's written something, So it's the three of us in the car and we're out in Tooele. So it's a long drive back. It's really dark. And so I say, hey, let's, turn Steve's rap on. I'm sure it's a rap. And we turn it on and, it's you and your daughter. And I recognize her voice right off the bat. Steve has a daughter that's about Nolly's age. And he's never rapped with your daughter before. And so it starts and it's Nolly. It's about Nolly. And his daughter is playing Nolly in the rap. And it's about what she's gone through. And so this was completely out of the blue that we hear this. So we have to pull over. And I don't see Curtis cry a lot. But we are both bawling because Steve's been part of our family since, Nolly's been born before that. But the way that you talked from her perspective about what she was going through and the pain that she had experienced and the heart and the frustrations were things that we probably haven't shared because it's her story, but you captured it in that rap. And it was the most incredible gift that we've ever been given.
Oh, man. Yeah, Carrie, those are the things that, like, I don't understand it. Like, I don't understand why I even started doing it. But I do know now, like I do. Like after, like when you guys like called me after that, like that's the happiest I've ever been about something that I could share that. And to be honest, like I don't even know how that happens, right? Like the words come out or whatever, but they flowed out. They just flowed out. And it was because of the post that you put about Nolly's hand. And I really started thinking about it and just the pain that she went through and just, you relate it to like pain that you've been through. Like I've been through as a kid. And it's not easy. Like I just try to put myself in her place and just the stuff that she's had to like experience and go through, and just, it's not her fault, that she had to have that surgery in her hand was like that. And to be honest, like those doctors didn't mean to do it.
Complete accident. Yeah. Complete accident.
But why her, And so I don't know, something just connects and then it just comes out. And my relationship with you and my relationship with Curtis and like all of our years together, like all of it comes together. And then you can just tell that Nolly's just a special kid, and she just deserves something like that. She deserves that for what she's been through, and it's something that she can have and it's hers. And it was so cool that she texted me the other day and she's like, I have to learn this thing for school. And it didn't really rhyme, or it didn't, for Carl Mazur school. And now I remember the whole thing, Yeah. Like I could go in and like do her test for her. And so I made a rap out of it and sent it to her, and she's like, awesome. And you guys didn't even know about it. I sent it to you guys later. Yeah, you sent it to,
and we were like, I was like, I think this is about their school.
I know, you're like, why are you
cool,
rapping about?
Thanks, buddy.
That's awesome, man.
But I mean, it's such a special experience that you have this gift and ability, because it takes courage to share. It's not easy to be a 36-year-old guy learning how to rap. It takes courage to be able to say and to be able to put time and energy and effort into this. It's not something that like you said, you just, this just is easy for me.
Yeah. And I want to invite anybody that's listening, right? Like if you have something that you're passionate about or think you're passionate about, like explore it. Like, why not? why not explore it? Like check it out and find the people, like you said, that are going to support you with it. And it can be a really good outlet for you, and it can be a blessing to other people later on, right? Like it really can. Did one for a kid that we're really close to, Eric Liston's kid, Landon Liston, that just had heart surgery, had a heart transplant. And so we did Landon Strong, a song for him. And
so good.
Yeah, he just like, it's just so cool that, and Eric saved it. I sent it to him and he saved it to listen to him, like just with him. And so it's just a really special thing so I would just say, yeah, if you're even thinking about it, like go for it. Whatever you're doing, go for it. Like if you have a passion to start a business or something, do it. Like just work hard and be all in on it, and you're going to be successful. You'll do it.
And you have to put in the work, but then also find that really great support system of like, yeah, you got this. We're here for you, whatever happens.
Yeah.
But you have to put in the work, because none of what you've created with your rap, the community, the special, experiences, none of that would have happened if you weren't willing to do the work and put in the actual time, pen to paper, and then putting it to beats.
You're right. And putting in the work with those relationships, right? So to touch back on like how I stay in contact with so many people or whatever, it's like because I'm intentional with it, and I do make deposits into those relationship banks, right? Like I make those deposits. I'm thinking about people, I'm sending texts, I'm calling, I'm inviting to golf, I'm inviting to whatever. And it doesn't take much, right? And even if you don't link up and do something with them, they know you're thinking about them. And it's huge these days for that. Like everything's so like social media, everything's so on the phone, and nothing's really in person anymore, but which makes it almost easier, right? Because you can hit these people up and it doesn't take long, but the thought is huge. So
well, and just reaching out when somebody comes to your mind, it takes less than a minute to send out a text or a voice note, just saying like, hey, I just want to, connect. What's up? What are you doing? And honestly, I think that's sometimes how we can really take it to the next level. It takes less than a minute, but instead of just liking somebody's or commenting on a picture that 500 other people have maybe liked or commented, like how do you take that connection to the next level?
Yeah, and I love your idea of the voice memo that you were saying on Instagram. When you meet somebody, like drop them a voice. Like I think that's such a great idea.
It's so fun, and it just makes that connection so much deeper, because we know how our brains work, and if there's a different connection than just like facial recognition, okay, well now I know their face and now I know their voice. That's so much different.
Yeah, it's huge. And just be nice to everybody. Like just be nice. I remember a lot of people just coming up to me from high school and they're like, you were just nice, and if you're nice to everybody, you're going to be good. Like I haven't had to market or advertise or anything for 17 years because the networking and just honestly just being nice to people. Mm-hmm. And then they want to work with people that are nice, right? Like
they want to work with people that are nice, honest, respectful, and then hardworking, that are going to then actually make the offer and then follow through on the offer.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm really excited for this thing with touch points. This is so exciting. I love watching what you and Jerem are creating. It's so much fun. So much fun to be able to also see that the opportunity to connect with more people is available, and that you're all in with it. I can't wait to see what the next couple of years are going to mean for you. We have big plans. Steve has one boy. We've already said that he has the choice.
So Laker's got big shoes to fill, but
we love Laker and Oakley, your two kids. They just mean the world to us. And, it's just been such a delight to be able to be part of your family and to be able to raise our kids together. So what we're going to do is something special today for this podcast. We have gotten permission from Nolly. Thank you, Nolly. But we're going to drop Nolly's song at the end of this episode. And we are so thrilled to have you in our lives and to have this. And so we hope that you guys enjoy Nolly's song. And we'll catch you next time on Drive Your Thoughts Coaching. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you so much, Carrie.
I've been trying to love you. I just need a reason. I could be committed for sure if you made it more even. I've been trying to trust you. I need your assistance. I could be committed for sure. Just make it more even.
Hey mister, wanna see a magic trick? I've got a quarter, can you guess which hand it's in? Yep, you guessed it.
That's it. Sorry for my scars, I know they're thick. It's from the surgeries when I was a kid. I didn't happen at birth, there wasn't anything I did. I got croup one night, that turned into a lifeline. Throat swelled up, must have felt so tight.
I can't remember, like I said, I was a kid. I guess the IV burned me the way they put it in. A simple mistake, changed the way I live. I wonder if God knows what they did.
I've been trying to love you. I just need a reason. I could be committed for sure if you made it more even. I've been trying to trust you. I need your assistance. I could be committed for sure. Just make it more even.
Give me that hand, girl, let me take a look. I can't believe the courage it took for you to come out even stronger than you already were. To know that through all these trials there was a lesson to learn. You'll be a blessing to so many when you help with the burn. And maybe they can borrow Piglet to give him some courage. I know it's tough, you're feeling beat up, so put your hand in my hand, I bet you feel love. I got some scars just like you. It really hurt when the nails went through, but guess what? It was worth it, cause one day I'm gonna make that hand
I've been
perfect.
trying to love you. I just need a reason. I could be committed for sure if you made it more even. I've been trying to trust you. I need your assistance. I could be committed for sure. Just make it more easy.